And joining me now is former Assistant FBI Director Christopher Swecker. Chris, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. You know, when I spoke with the president yesterday, he was calm, cool, and collected, and he also was very complimentary and gracious to the Secret Service, saying that they did a good job. But how is it possible for somebody to get down there with all of those weapons in the hotel? I mean, I recognize this is a room that's hard to secure, but the guy walks into the hotel. He was staying there, obviously, with a shotgun and a handgun.
Well, yeah. First, you have to take into account that we live in this toxic political environment. Charlie Kirk described it even before his death. He called it a culture of assassination. So literally, any event where the president or any high-profile conservative is attending is at risk. So you can't just employ or deploy ordinary security measures. You have to go to the extraordinary levels now, because you mentioned the hotel. Remember, this is the hotel where President Reagan was almost assassinated. Hotels are difficult to secure, but gosh, this is in the basement of a hotel. There is a finite number of entrances and exits that you have to cover, especially during the event itself. You have to again deploy extraordinary security these days, and I think you're going to have to do the after action on this in this particular case and determine what happened. But I think the Secret Service needs to get out there and red team their own security, meaning let's figure out ways to breach our own security and see where the vulnerabilities are. That happens in corporate security in America every day. I employed a whole team of them at Bank of America to do just that.
Yeah, and, it was no secret that there were people who were upset that the president was going to be there. We knew that there would be protesters saying, treat this president differently, telling reporters how to treat him. So we knew that. But I think you hit on something that's also really important. Things like this could not be done without the media amplifying some of the lies on the left. I mean, that's really something that must be discussed as well, because some of the words that he used in his manifesto were words that came from people on the left and the media amplifying that. So, there is some responsibility here for some of this rhetoric that has been going on for 10 years against this president. And obviously that's going to affect somebody with a mental problem.
Right. I mean, in a country of 350,000 people, there are literally thousands of people like this who are out there. It's undeniable. So when you spout this vitriol, this political rhetoric, you call the president a Nazi, you call our law enforcement Gestapo, you're going to activate these people. You know that. We've had a series of events, not just isolated events around the country, but a whole series of events that have occurred. And you know that these people are out there just devouring every political word that's being spoken out there, every violent call to action out there. Yeah. And that is the height of irresponsibility.
Exactly. So I know you meant 350 million people in America. But, Chris, what I really want to get your take on is where the FBI goes now. What are some of the things, in addition to looking at that manifesto that he left behind, going to his home, what are some of the key things that the FBI is doing right now in terms of investigating this guy?
Right. Well, the FBI has exclusive jurisdiction here, not the Secret Service. They conduct the investigations. The Secret Service can't investigate itself or their own security. So by DOJ guidelines and law, the FBI will be up front here throughout the whole process. And they're going to dissect this guy's life from A to Z. Every electronic device he ever possessed, every person he ever spoke to, his social network, his social media postings, and get to the bottom of his motivation, of course, and whether there was anyone else who aided and abetted him. Now, we know that this person was literally flashing red. He was articulating that, not exactly what he was going to do, but he was going to take action. He was going to shooting ranges. He had guns. He had sort of a gun fetish. So I think they're going to look very hard at whether there are any co-conspirators and what incited this.
All right. We'll be watching all of that. Chris, always great to connect. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.